Hello, I'm Nicholas Fikencher, and in this video, I will be taking you guys through the light layout in the theater and what each light fixture does and the number that it corresponds to in the theater and on the lighting board. Here we have a diagram showing all the lights and where they are placed inside the theater. Each one of these is a bar or a catwalk, and the blue shaded area is the stage. There's also a key as to tell you which light fixtures are what. As you can see, the front lights are the color source spots, and so on and so forth, as well as numbers beneath each light indicating what they correspond to on the board. This planning sheet can be extremely useful for figuring out which light you would need for a certain scenario, and it can be found in the same folder where we found the MA.2 3D and .2 on PC lighting boards. Now to show you what each light does. First, I will go through the front lights, which are 1 through 12, in 3 rows of 4 each. These lights, as we can now see coming on, are the front lights, generally used on the faces of actors and performers on stage. It's noted that because these are the front lights, they should not vary in color much and are generally quite powerful and can be harmful if people were to look at them when they are on full brightness. Next, we're going to move on to all of the side lights. Now, this is probably one of the more confusing panels, as it's quite hard to differentiate which lights are which. First of all, we have 2 sets of side lights. One's coming from the left and one's coming from the right. The ones coming from the left, as you are viewing it from the tech booth, to the right of stage are numbers 21 through 29 and can be used to give color to actors as well as setting the general scene of a performance. The same goes for numbers 31 through 38, which are just from the opposite side, from the right to the left of stage, as you can see in the simulator on our right. Next, we have the backlights, which also are 41 through 48, and are generally used to create color in the scene and to liven up the atmosphere on the floor. The next set of par cans we have is the psych. These lights are aimed at the very back, up high, at the psych or scrim, and can be used to change the color in wide varieties to give off different effects. Next, going down the list, we have our apron lights, which are these first 4 lights in these 2 sections. These cover the very front of stage and are also coming in at steep angles from the left and the right. So be cautious when using it, as some actors find it quite visually distracting for them. Next, we have all of our moving lights. These lights are all aimed on stage, the first 8, and can move around the stage and are not stationary and constantly aimed at one place. We will revisit these when we talk about exactly each of the fixture types. We also have 2 front moving lights, which can be aimed at actors' faces and used as front lights where the normal lights do not reach. Next, we now have the customizable lights, or the lights that are not always in the normal place. We have 61 and 62, which are 2 front lights that can be moved around and specialized on a show-by-show basis, and are generally changed, so be cautious when using them, and you have to see exactly what each of them are set up for. They can be changed and moved around from the catwalks and can have added irises or lenses to change the attributes of the light. We also have 71 through 76, which are par cans just like the backlights that can be moved around above stage with similar effects as the previous two. Now, to go into depth on what each light can do. All of the lights, except for the moving ones, can be controlled simply by the sliders. They all have the dimmer function, the color function, which means they can change colors, as all of the lights in the theater are LED and do change color, and the beam, which in these lights only offer a strobe effect or changing color. Next we have the parkans, which also only have a dimmer, color, and a beam effect, or a strobe. Finally, we come down to the moving lights. Oops. As you can see from the right, there's many more options. We of course have the dimmer, color, but we also have position, which allows the lights to be moved and rotated around to aim them at specific parts of the stage. Next we have the gobos, which allow for a certain amount of light to pass through to create a certain pattern on the floor. Also note when using gobos that you would need to focus the lights, as they do not show up in the simulator as focus. Next we have the beam, which has a strobe, as with the normal lights. It also has the iris, which widens or opens the lens. And finally, there's also a prism, which splits the beam up into 3 sections, which can rotate around. We also have a focus function, which we can adjust the zoom of it and the focus. The focus is very useful for when trying to get distinct patterns from the gobos on the floor. We finally have the control panel, which is just used to reset the fixture in case something has gone wrong. Those are all the fixtures inside the Aisj theater, and I would appreciate if you would go and experiment with what each light does and the effect in the theater, as some of it cannot be shown in this video. Also make sure you're referring to the diagram to know which lights to select and use for creating a certain scene. Thank you for watching.